Let me tell you what, second book syndrome, not a problem here. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about The Trial of Rooker Flynn, Book 2 in the Locke Institute trilogy, and another really solid edition here coming from A.R. Witham. So I had talked about with the first book, which this does have the character Blackjack from the first, well, not a different series, but from The Legend of Blackjack. We do see a return there, but this is a little bit more focused, of course, on Rooker Flynn, obviously from the name here. But completely different feel in a lot of ways, and is more of like a prison movie, like 80s action type of thing in some ways, which was totally different. And I talked about in the first book in this trilogy as well, tonally I felt like it was sort of bordering between, is this like younger, is this dark? And it's one of those things where A.R. Witham's books seem to be a little bit hard to place, where they have kind of an all ages feel to some extent, where it's like there's still plenty of stuff that you're going to appreciate as an adult, but it also seems like something that you might have enjoyed when you were younger. And so I had kind of some of those things where I'm like, I'm not entirely sure how I feel. And then with book 2, honestly, I didn't even really care. I'm like, you call it whatever you want. It was just a great time. While I did very much enjoy the first book, as I mentioned, and it was one I had a really good time with just because A.R. Witham just has a way of writing really enjoyable stories that are engaging, that just like make you want to root for the characters, make you want to know more. Book 2 really upped the bar for me, and it just felt like a blast from the start the whole time. We're exploring more with the characters and the relationship with Jack and with Rooker. We're learning more about the world and kind of some of the interesting history. We still have a lot of returning characters from the first book as well. But again, we had a lot set up, and the first book I think set the stage for a lot of what was going to be going on, and then this book just kind of runs with it and just goes. So you get a lot of more interesting things here, a lot of there's some fun references, some fun bits and pieces here as well, and just more of the stuff specifically from Blackjack, the original book, that really pulled me in and fun with, like the advanced problem solving, and it has that kind of feel of like the plan together, because they're trying to escape prison, and so you have that sort of thing. So it just brings that feel of those kinds of movies, which is not what I was originally expecting at all with this, but it works really well, and it just gives that feel. It's very, very engaging. Now I'll note here, I did do the audio for this, which specifically, it's the author had I had an e-arc of this too for ebook, but he also had sent me a copy of the audiobook, and I've not actually ever done one of his audiobooks. He does narrate his own. I'd heard bits and pieces, and seen him he did some live narration on his channel on YouTube as well, but I had not done one from start to finish. And I remember hearing with Blackjack that it's just like the experience is there because just he breathes so much life into it, and I enjoyed the book anyway. But I have to say, I do feel the audio works so well here, because while just reading it normally is still really enjoyable, it's kind of getting that experience with A.R. Witham does a really great job with being very dynamic with the voices and just the feeling he puts in there, but you're getting like the exact kind of like the stress is in the right place. The tone, the emotions, all of these pieces, you're really getting the story firsthand in a way that you just can't when you're just reading it. And it does add something. So I don't know if that made me enjoy it anymore. I feel like book 2 would have been excellent no matter how I read it. But I do have to say, if you like audio, really great audio for this series so far. And I might end up having to do audio for the third one too if I don't read it sooner, just because it was really great. And so I enjoyed that a lot. And like I said, it's kind of hard to define where this is. And I was on a stream for the release of the book and talked about some things, including book 2, middle book syndrome, which sometimes can happen where things lose steam, which I didn't find to be here as well. But I know the author doesn't really like the YA label, and it is kind of, I feel like when you hear YA, it is meant to be like, oh, it's marketed specifically at that range, and the book really is not. It's just kind of something, like I said, it's not quite there. It doesn't feel like it's like straight up adult. Doesn't feel like it's straight up YA. It's just kind of there. And I feel like what he's going for, and what I've experienced with all of his books I've read so far, is he's just really going for a great story that's going to make you feel engaged, that you can enjoy, and to make you feel something too, because a lot of emotions here. And So I think he really nails that, and just I had a really fun time with this. I will note though that he continues with being quite mean to the characters here, and there's still, these books are a bit darker. Like I said, I feel like things were really leveled out because the first book kind of, I just feel like was a little bit jarring for me with the tonal shift and kind of the difference in the way it was done. In book 2, kind of like you know what to expect, and so for me it just was very, very smooth. But there's still some dark stuff going on. You still may or may not get another cliffhanger here like the first book, but it's just yeah, I'm very excited to see how this turns out, and I like the way a lot of the elements were incorporated, and including like there's even like sort of like a montage in there in a way, which is hard to do in book format, I feel like. So there's a lot of that like movie goodness in here in a great way, while being also still having a very, very fantasy story with these different characters, and a lot of really complex characters as well, including the legacy characters that we know, including other characters, and the villain Gerbil Whitmarple is just the villain is so villainous in so many ways, but also we see more there too. We get a little bit more backstory there, and it's not just like mustache twirly type of villains. It's like we see some of the reasons why she's doing what she's doing, what her real goals are, and just it's handled in a way that, again, just I feel like we really got deeper into everything. The setting, we're finding more about the characters, whether our main characters, our side characters, the villains, whoever. We're finding out a lot more there, and a lot more pieces of information about the world. And all of this done in an incredibly just quick moving, action packed, just enjoyable heck of an adventure. And that's, for me, this feels like, even though it feels like the wrong term because of the fact that like Legend of Blackjack was sort of adventure fantasy, even though there's a lot of stuff going on here. And even though this takes place on like, in like a prison, it still has that sort of feel, that adventure fantasy feel, in a lot of great ways. And it's just, I would never have thought that you could make that work with this particular plot and setting, but it just works so well. So I had a really great time with this. I do highly recommend this book. Like I said as well, if you've not read Legend of Blackjack as well, I do recommend that book as well. I commented there. It's just, it's a book that I loved. I didn't expect to, and I just absolutely loved. And I think just honestly, Witham has a way of writing that just captures kind of the spirit of things that I would have liked when I was younger, but writes it in a way that I still can really appreciate. I don't go back and be like, oh, this isn't nearly as good. It's something that reading for the first time as an adult, I almost feel nostalgia in some of these books, even though I've not read them before. And so it just kind of captures that spirit of telling a really good story in a really engaging way. So yeah, really enjoyable one. But really, those are my thoughts on the Trial of Rooker Flynn. Let me know your thoughts if you've been reading these books, or if it's something you're interested to check out. Would love to hear from you. Otherwise, make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the links in the description, as always, for the Patreon if you want to support what I do, as well as the Wizardly Enclave Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, really anything at all. It's a lot of fun, and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.